Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we get a chance to look at yet another of these brand new Pnso figures. So, super exciting day yet again. I love Pnso. I love what they've been producing for quite some time now. They've really been hammering out some of the best figures that we have seen in years. So, another species of dinosaur right here that they've created that is fairly obscure as far as figures go. We have Bart the Pinakosaurus. This is definitely a species that I don't think I have in my collection at all, so it is awesome to welcome a figure of this species into my collection. So here, looking at the box, you can see Pnso, Bart the Pinakosaurus, and then a really nice image of the dinosaur right there, obviously with a very thorny devil-inspired paint scheme, which I really quite like. And then if we take a look here at the top, you can kind of see an image here of the upper side of the Pinakosaurus, showing more of that beautiful paint scheme, and then the back is just the same thing, but now with Chinese instead of English. So let's go ahead and break this open and take a look at the figure within. So straight away we have our Pnso booklet, like we always have included, with a really nice image yet again of the Pinacosaurus there on the front. And then once we open it up, it's pretty much your standard run-of-the-mill booklet at this point from Pnso, something we are all accustomed to, with, again, more images of the Pinacosaurus, as well as an image up there at the top of the skeletal structure, information on Pnso and the Pinacosaurus itself. So lots of really cool stuff included in this booklet, and again, as always, I love that Pnso includes these. It's such a very, very nice addition to these sets and helps to give you some information on the species of dinosaur that you are buying a figure of. Really cool on the part of Pnso. And then here is our Pinacosaurus, and it's really, really beautiful. No surprise whatsoever, as Pnso continuously produces beautiful figures, but I had actually seen a few images that someone had posted online of this figure, and the images that they had taken really made the paintwork on this look like super bright and kind of obnoxious and not very good. But in hand, I must say that it's actually way better than I was expecting it to be, and looks, I mean, it's definitely not perfect in comparison to the prototype, but it's not too far off as far as I'm concerned. I still think it looks absolutely gorgeous as far as the paintwork goes. I knew the sculpt would be fantastic. It's a Pnso sculpt. The paintwork is pretty much the thing that I'm always concerned about, because you never truly know what the paintwork on a figure will look like until you have it in hand, no matter what the prototype images are telling you. And I can definitely say I'm quite happy with the appearance of this one already, so let's go ahead and get a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see an absolutely gorgeous head sculpt on our Pinacosaurus, and you can also see a pinkish coloration there, kind of bordering around the eye, similar to the Maragaya that we reviewed recently. It's a very, very nice looking, very detailed, whoop, we're losing our focus here, very detailed head sculpt that we have here. Beautiful texturing to the face, a very armored type of a look, of course, for the dinosaur. The beak is gorgeous as far as that detailing goes, and the paintwork as well looks really nicely done. Some nice variations of brown included there on the snout in the beak area. You can also see the nostrils sculpted out right there. Same deal over here on the opposing side of the head as far as that really nice sculpt and detail. The eyes are painted beautifully. You could see them glossing quite nice and quite realistically if my camera would stay focused on it. But you could see it has a very realistic eye shine to it, which is something that Pnso has really quite nicely perfected lately. And you can see again that the paintwork over here is just as beautiful as we had seen on the previous side. Same deal as far as that sculpt and detail goes. Really nice textured appearance to the head of the Pinacosaurus. And again, the kind of armored areas all look really, really well done. And we have lots of really nice paint variation throughout the figure. And once you come up here, you can again really see that really nice thorny devil-inspired paint scheme with quite a few different tones of coloration, including yellows, browns, whites, all kinds of stuff going on up here on the top of the head. And the scale detail is absolutely gorgeous up here as well. Again, Pnso never ceases to amaze me with how good the sculpts of their figures are. You can see as we start to move back here into the upper part of the back that the scale detail is brought out beautifully with a nice dark wash, which is something that Pnso as well has been using quite frequently lately, and I've been loving every minute of it because I feel like a very nicely applied wash really amps the realism of the figure up quite a bit, and Pnso has done a great job with that here. I'm also really quite impressed with how smooth the paint application is here on the back. Like, you can really see that it's applied very nice and very realistically. All the transitions between the colors is really smooth as well. So very nice job on the part of Pnso on the actual paint application as well. I'm really, really impressed by this one. And you can see again that that scale detail continues to look great over here on the side of the animal as well, thanks to that dark wash. These spikes that come out of the side of the dinosaur over here are painted very nicely with a dark brown and transition really nice and really smoothly to the tips there with a lighter coloration. And look at the insane amount of detail that is included within those side spikes. Like, there is just a lot of really nice realistic sculpt work included in those side spikes on this Pinacosaurus. And then we continue to move along the back of the dinosaur, and it continues to look absolutely gorgeous. You can also see the same detail over here as far as those side spikes. Man, that is very impressive. That may be some of the best detailing I've ever seen on the side of like a ankylosaur and the side spike area. It's beautifully done on the part of Pnso. And then we continue to move back here into the tail, and you can see that now these kind of spikes back here start out with a brown, but then transition to like a yellow out onto the tips, which looks really cool. You can also see that these side spikes here that run along the tail are also very highly detailed. Look at how insane the detailing aspect of those side spikes is. It's really, really impressive just how many cracks and crevices that they've included in that area. The paintwork continues to look really nice as we lead out to that club tail out here at the end. Again, the dark wash has been applied to many different areas to make sure all that detail pops, and the club tail is definitely one of those areas as well. Moving back onto the underside of the dinosaur, you continue to see insane amounts of sculpt and detail, and even more so beautiful paintwork. And again, that dark wash is applied to the underside as well, making sure each and every one of these scales pop in a very realistic way. Of course, the underside sports a lighter coloration like you most often find with dinosaurs, and I think it looks really good the way that Pnso has applied this, as well as just generally the color choices. Even the undersides of the feet are really highly detailed, like Pnso always delivers. They don't cease in the detail department pretty much anywhere. You can see some nice skin wrinkles here on the underside as well, kind of showing some of the movement in the skin from the leg. You can also see the throat of the Pinacosaurus. Beautiful, beautiful work there. You can also see here on the side of the dinosaur, again, that very armored looking appearance in general to the dinosaur, especially when you take a look at that front leg there. And the detailing aspect in that front leg, again, is just incredible, along with the paintwork. There's just so much beautiful sculpt and detail and paintwork on this figure that I'm pretty much in awe just looking at it up close. There's just so much to look at as far as this species of dinosaur goes. Some more incredible scale detail here on the side, again, all brought out perfectly with that nice dark wash. Some very nice musculature displayed throughout the figure. You can really see some very muscular rear legs here, insanely muscular in both the thigh and calf region. The feet are sculpted quite nicely. You have painted nails with a yellowish coloration, and I'm really impressed, again, by the paintwork of this figure. Pnso has just really been nailing it lately as far as the paintwork on their figures goes, and this is another very good example of just how good the paintwork on the actual factory released figures is. This is beautifully done, and I am very, very impressed overall with both, of course, the sculpt and the paint aspect. So this Pinacosaurus is incredibly well done, and I am so psyched to now have one in my collection, but even more psyched for it to have come from Pnso. As far as the size goes on the Pinacosaurus, for a length from the tail to the head, you're looking at about 6.5 inches or about 16.5 centimeters. For a height, you're not going to have too much of a height as it is a fairly low-lying dinosaur, but you're going to see it at about 1 3/4 inches or about 4.5 centimeters. Really had to duck down to get the height on this guy right there. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Pnso Pinacosaurus. And you can see again with these figures in comparison that it's a very small figure, probably the smallest from Pnso that they've released in a very long time. But honestly, with the amount of detail and beautiful paintwork crammed into the smaller size, I feel like the figure as a whole is even more impressive with the smaller size because it is incredibly well done. Even at the small size that it holds, it's still insanely, insanely well done. Pretty much just as nicely done as every other of the more recent Pnso figures. And to show you that, here are two of my more recently reviewed Pnso figures with the Carnotaurus and the Miragaia. next to, of course, our Pinacosaurus, and you can see that each and every one of them looks incredible in comparison to each other, and further proving that Pnso is currently one of, if not the leading dinosaur figure producing companies right now, because all they seem to be creating is top quality, unbelievably beautiful dinosaur models, and these three right here before you are perfect examples of just that. So this Pnso Pinakosaurus is really nicely done, and I was a little concerned again after seeing those images online of the figure. I was definitely a little concerned that it would show up with kind of sloppy paint or just generally not really looking that great, or in general not looking that close to the prototype, which a lot of the figures that they've released lately I feel like have looked pretty much just like the prototype or potentially even exceeded it with certain figures. But this Pinacosaurus, I am happy to say, as far as mine goes, is really beautiful and definitely matches up quite nicely to the prototype. It's not perfect. Again, I think the tones of color are just slightly off in comparison to the prototype, but it's not any type of a issue that I feel like is even remotely a downside. I feel like it's mostly just like that yellowish coloration. It's more like a yellowish green that we see here on this figure, and it's just slightly off as far as the shade goes in comparison to the prototype. But again, it's not anything that I feel like would even remotely cause a downside for the figure, because looking at the figure, if you had never even seen the prototype, you would 100% say that the figure is gorgeous regardless, or at least I would anyway. I think the paintwork on this is perfectly done, really beautifully applied and very nice and naturally applied, and the colors kind of taking inspiration from the Thorny Devil, which is something I don't really recall Pnso doing previously, would be taking inspiration from modern day animals and creating a figure, a prehistoric figure, with the paint scheme. So that's a little interesting that this figure has that going for it. It's the first one that I can recall that occurring with. Taking inspiration from the Thorny Devil with the paint scheme, you know it's a nice natural looking paint scheme for a living animal, because it is a paint scheme from a living animal. So it translates really well, especially to this type of species. I feel like it's a beautiful paint application for this type of dinosaur, and it works really well on the figure. This sculpt is insanely well done, as always from Pnso. Highly detailed is an understatement when you're looking at a Pnso figure, and this Pinacosaurus is as detailed as it gets when it comes to a dinosaur figure. Pnso crams tons and tons of sculpt and detail. Pretty much every aspect of detailing you would expect to find on an actual living animal is present on this figure right here. So kudos to Pnso for providing us yet another unbelievable figure in a long line of unbelievable figures. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to where you can do just that. So make sure you check the description, you go buy this absolutely gorgeous Pnso Pinakosaurus, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.